Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Jaylene and this is Jay's Journey. Today I'm going to be reading the PIQs that got me into UCLA and UC Berkeley as a transfer student. If you like what you see, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Okay, so I'm going to be going into the 4 essays that I wrote, 350 words each. 3 of them I can choose and 1 is mandatory for transfer students. I'm going to be reading them in their entirety. I'll post them up right here too so you can read along with me. Hopefully it can give you some ideas, some pointers on you for writing your own PIQs, and then I'm going to be giving you some tips on why I wrote what I wrote, how I was intentional with them, and any closing tips that can help you stand out in your application. Because this video is me literally reading my PIQs for the majority of it, I'm going to be looking down, reading them. I'm also going to put them up here on the screen so you can read along. Alright, so my first essay, also the mandatory essay, is please describe how you have prepared for your intended major, including your readiness to succeed in your upper division courses once you enroll at the university. Once a drug addict, always a drug addict. I am the daughter of 2 former methamphetamine drug addicts, and this is the expression society uses to describe people like my parents. I always believed that my parents were just bad people that made bad choices, but through my sociology course, the reality of their lives became so clear to me. They are not the result of bad behavior, rather the products of their environments. I have prepared for my intended major through excelling in courses that have allowed me to discover not only my passion for advocacy, but my innate abilities to speak publicly. Joining the speech and debate team not only ignited a fire within me to use my voice, but instilled in me this notion that my voice actually mattered. This passion to advocate translated outside of the classroom and into the prisons where I volunteered as a tutor through the prison education program. I met compelling men and women with hopes and dreams as far and wide as my own. This is where my interest in criminal law peaked. And what I learned is that the criminal justice system is full of real people who may have made mistakes, but rarely are the questions asked as to why they are in these situations in the first place. The culmination of programs I have participated in eventually steered me toward a path I knew was paved so clearly for me: law. My parents overcame this narrative that was written for them, but I believe there are more stories to be rewritten. A degree in the social sciences will broaden my knowledge on social issues at the grassroots and government level. Furthermore, it will deepen my passion for advocacy while preparing me to apply to law school and eventually become a criminal defense attorney. Just as I have applied my life experiences, passions, and classroom knowledge to contribute toward prison education, I will be able to take the most of what I learn in my upper division courses and apply it to real-world situations as well. So that was my first essay. So for this essay, you really want to hone in on why you're going to succeed in upper division courses. That's the basis of the entire question. Why should we take you? Basically, how are you going to succeed in upper division courses at a 4-year university that's more fast-paced? So in this one, I did share something very personal about my life and my family. So with that, you have to be very careful if you're going to share something like that, to not turn it into a sob story of poor me, this is my life, this is the cards that were dealt to me, nothing like that. You really want to make sure that you say it, but you kind of highlight how you kind of overcame this, what you learned from it. In my case, it's what I learned, kind of the epiphany that I had in school, just seeing the background of my parents and kind of seeing how that translated into my passions, what I was good at, and what I love to do, and how that makes me a good candidate for a social science degree. And it also showed that with my passions and with my abilities, I took that into a volunteer experience in the prisons, and I brought that full circle to the end of my essay, showing that just as I can do that, I could take whatever I learn at this UC and apply it to real world situations. So I felt like that was pretty much the basis of that essay. So yeah, those are my notes. And also, if you're going to talk about your family, be very, very short with it. I feel like they don't want to know about your family. Sure, you can mention them like I did, or a mentor or whoever if you're going to bring someone else into your essays. But in reality, they want to know about you. Who are you? So that's that essay. Okay, moving on to my second essay, I chose describe an example of your leadership experience in which you have positively influenced others, helped resolve disputes, or contributed to group efforts over time. I spent 1 year in a missionary and leadership training campus in Cape Town, South Africa, as a part of the Christian ministry Victory Outreach. The campus consisted of 30 American and South African students, 5 staff, and 2 directors. Each student had the opportunity to gain leadership positions. I began as earning the role of room leader, then dorm overseer, and eventually became one of 2 campus leaders chosen from my class. As the campus leader, my leadership abilities were stretched more than ever before. I was confident in my abilities to execute tasks and mobilize the students because I had proven these skills to be selected as campus leader, but I found myself facing a major cultural barrier. The second campus leader was a South African male named blank. He came from the blank culture. He often ignored my suggestions, became angry when I tried to follow up on projects, and would even lash out on me. I remember feeling both fear and anger while working with him because even though we were both responsible for leading the campus, he did not see it that way. I sought advice from my director, and he explained to me that in blank's culture, women are meant to submit to men and carry little to no leadership roles. Once I understood the way he thought, I spoke to him about how he made me feel and how we could resolve our issues. He admitted his wrongs, and we both apologized for not understanding one another. By having the opportunity to lead alongside someone with a completely different upbringing than me, I learned the value of communication and teamwork. Moreover, I learned the importance of becoming knowledgeable of my peers' cultures, because coming from different backgrounds doesn't mean we can't work together. I've taken this lesson of using communication to overcome cultural barriers and applied it to resolving disputes at my job, administration team in my local church, and forensics team. Acknowledging that everyone thinks differently has become a vital part in the way that I communicate now. So that's my second essay. This one obviously highlighted my year in South Africa, but more than anything, obviously it highlighted my leadership. It highlighted being able to work with people from different upbringings, cross-culturally. I felt that with this essay, I kind of had trouble with it because I spent a year in South Africa. I could talk about literally so much, but I did want to hone in on this specific instance because I felt like it actually happened. Also, I kept the name and culture out just for privacy. And I learned from this experience, and I felt like it could be translated, and it has been translated into other areas of my life for communication skills. So I felt like it showed a lot about who I was, how I can be a leader on this campus, and how I can collaborate with other people well. So my advice with this one is just to be specific, answer the question, be straightforward, and really try to highlight the best parts of you. Like with this one, I highlighted that I moved up in leadership. I highlighted that I worked with a male from a different culture. I highlighted how I used these skills and took them to real world situations when I came back home and during my time in community college. So that's my second one. Alrighty, reading my third essay. What would you say is your greatest talent or skill? How have you developed and demonstrated that talent over time? Whether it be volunteering as a speaker for my group project or speaking on stage, over time I have recognized my deep enjoyment for public speaking. The extent of my public speaking skills were magnified when I took a public speaking course. This was the first course that truly grasped my attention and incited joy in me. After each speech I performed for class, my professor recommended that I audition for my college's speech and debate team, formerly called forensics. After auditioning and having the privilege of being accepted on the team, I began to further develop this skill with the guidance of my coaches. Throughout the course of the season, I researched, wrote, memorized, and performed multiple 10-minute speeches on topics that mattered to me. I spent countless hours perfecting this skill by running my speeches daily, receiving feedback from my coaches, and observing how other forensics competitors displayed their skills. The payoff of my hard work and skill was evident in the recognition that I received at both state and national levels. During my first year on the team, I was selected as one of 14 members to represent Mount San Antonio College Forensics at the California Community College Forensics Association State Championship Tournament and the Firo Pi National Championship Tournament. At state, I brought home 2 bronze medals for my informative speech and prose interpretation. At nationals, I received bronze for my informative speech. Forensics granted me the opportunity to take a skill that I have passively used my entire life and utilize it in a competitive setting. This skill is so meaningful to me, not because of the awards I have won from using it, but because of the passion it fuels within me and the boldness it cultivates through me. This skill has given me a sense of assertiveness in using my voice in settings that don't always encourage women or minorities like me to speak up in. My intrinsic love for speaking has and will continue to be a powerful skill that I utilize in multiple facets of my life and career. Forensics, I love it. So, never in my life would I have thought I'd be filling out a PIQ talking about my greatest talent or skill, because I have always thought that I am the most untalented, unskilled person on this planet. But I discovered this skill and this talent and this gift in a Speech 1A class at community college. And that's all it took for my passions to just take off, and I'm very grateful for that. So with this essay, brag.
Do it!
It's okay.
Just do it!
It is okay. Even on the website, it says it's okay to brag. Like, you want to show them the best of who you are. And I think that for this essay in particular, it's okay to brag a little bit. I mean, obviously don't seem like I'm the best in the world, but you know, show off what you worked hard for to earn. I think the bulk of the middle part of this essay does just that. It does show off what I did. But I like how in the last part of my essay, I kind of honed in on why it's meaningful to me, how it's helpful to me, what it's done for me, how it fuels me, and I think it ties in really well with the career path that I am planning on taking, going to law school. So that's my third essay. Last but not least, this is actually the hardest essay and the last essay that I actually did right, but it actually turned into my favorite one. So I'll have a lot to say about this afterwards. Describe the most significant challenge you have faced and the steps you have taken to overcome this challenge. How has this challenge affected your academic achievement? Adjusting to periods of transition is single-handedly the most significant challenge I have faced. Coming back from South Africa to my hometown in Las Vegas felt like I stepped back into reality after time halted for an entire year. Then, moving to California by myself 6 months later to start my journey of transferring to a UC felt like I was the main character of a rom-com. Except, in this rom-com, there was no romance, just a lot of tears. Aww. Living without my parents made me realize there were many aspects of living independently that I did not know would impact me so heavily. Those small details in life that you never really appreciate until they are gone. Aspects such as having food at home, having my little sister there to binge watch Netflix with, or simply just hugging my mom. I was now responsible for actively seeking relationships and tending to my own well-being. While living with roommates, working part-time while taking classes full-time, and at times working 2 jobs, I often found myself overworked and lonely. Beyond the transition to independent living was the transition to college. Being absent from an academic setting for 2 years was discouraging as I struggled to adjust to the speed of my courses. The combination of these adjustments to life and academics affected my mental health, physical health, and academic success negatively. In the midst of transition, I neglected the worth of nourishing myself, so I began to make the simple changes. I became intentional in working to create and invest in friendships within my communities, began creating habits that fueled me, including habitually working out at the gym. More than anything, I learned the value of surrounding myself with people and activities that strengthened me, and the byproduct of these adjustments became evident in my academic progress. Growing through this experience taught me how to run with endurance rather than speed. It has given me the confidence I need to be adaptable and successful in future transitions. This essay. So, the first thing I want to say about this one is I always felt like I need to have some catastrophic event happen to me in order to answer a question like this. But I really sat down and I was real with myself. This was honestly, in all reality, the biggest hardship that I faced. Moving so much, being away from home, literally since I was 18, it hasn't been easy. And I wanted to highlight that. And I felt like, okay, this might seem menial, or this might seem like, okay, other people go through so many things, like people's parents get cancer and family members die and people have very like sad events. But I felt like for me this was real, and for me this shaped who I am, and it made me stronger, and I felt like it needed to be said, and I think I portrayed it very well. I portrayed that it was the little things kind of just added up that you don't think about that when you move away from your parents. You don't think about, okay, now you have to have food for yourself, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, which was exhausting, which is the whole thing in itself. Not having my sisters there, like literally the only relationships that I'll have or talk to, I don't come home and talk to people now. I live on my own, or I'll live with roommates, but it's like those little things kind of all added up, and they became a detriment to my mental health, to my physical health, to my academic success. But at the end, I think what's the most important, and which is a part of the question, is to show how it made you stronger, what you learned from it, and how it's gonna help you here at the UC, which I feel like I tied in very well. So that's my last essay. Okay, so these are my closing tips and remarks. I read all my essays. I hope that they were helpful. So a few tips: be bold with what you're gonna say. In my first essay, I literally started off with once a drug addict, always a drug addict. I feel like you just gotta hook, sometimes just hook the reader. It was my first essay. I wanted to start out strong. It's also something they say a lot in my ministry. So I kind of stole that, but it worked. I think it's okay to brag about yourself and highlight the strengths that you have, highlight the struggles that you went through, highlight what you love, highlight what you're passionate about in your essays. My next tip is get straight to the point. Get rid of the fluff in your essays. Literally, like, they don't care. They read through thousands. 25,000 people applied last year as for transfers. They're reading a ton of essays. Get straight to the point. You only have 350 words, which sounds like a lot, but it's really not. It's really not. So you kind of have to get straight to the point. Utilize every one of those words and make them count. So just, get straight to the point and highlight the best of you. My next tip is to pick the 3 essays that are gonna show the best of you, that are gonna show also different parts of you. I think that's something that a lot of people don't think about, is you wanna kind of show them different sides of you. Like, for example, my first essay, I showed them my passions and how I kind of got to that, and it showed like my family background a little bit. My second essay, it discussed my time in South Africa, which was a big part of my life and my growth. My third essay showed one of my most important extracurriculars and the funnest and what I just absolutely loved, which was forensics. It showed that part of me. And my last essay, it showed my story of moving to California. It highlighted that kind of just growing, moving away from home, and showing how I've grown as a person since then and my maturity. So I picked essays that pretty much showed all of me. If I were in an interview with these people, I feel like I showed them the best of me. I showed them every part of me. And my last and final tip would be to be very careful who you share your PIQs with, because a lot of people are going to have a lot of different opinions. So choose someone that knows you. Choose someone that can attest to who you are, and let them, if you really value their opinion, if they're a good writer also, then, share that PIQ with them. And I'm always open. If you want to send your PIQs, I'm always open to read them, to edit them, to help you. I feel like I've grown in my writing a lot. And at the end of the day, go with your gut. Like I said, people have a lot of opinions, but it's your essay, it's your application. At the end of the day, you're gonna be the one that's gonna go to the school or not because of these essays. So take everything with a grain of salt. Even my advice, take it with a grain of salt. Take what you need, leave what you don't. And at the end of the day, go with your gut. Like, you know what's gonna highlight you the best. You know the risks that you're willing to take. People were shocked that I put in the romance rom-com part, but I felt like that's me. Like, that's who I am. I'm just a little hopeless romantic, and I had to throw that in there. And it worked, obviously. I feel like hopefully I woke up some of the the admission committee. But yeah, other than that, I hope that this really helped. I have another video that I posted about how I got into UCLA, showing my extracurriculars and awards and GPA and things like that. So if this helped you out, make sure to check out that video, and come back for more. I'll be posting more content, and thank you guys for watching. Bye.